Welcome back to the channel. Racer X here, and today I've got a fun little video planned about Dodge and a vehicle from their distant past and why this vehicle may actually be making a resurgence here in the next year or two. Why I feel that way based on some of the offerings that Dodge has given us moving into 2024. So this should be a fun little video, especially for you guys that like the old school Mopars out there. Also, if you guys are brand new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe. Only like 19% of you guys watching at home are actually subscribed to the channel, which is a little odd to me, so don't forget, and off we go.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Now, I realize for some of you at home, you may not even remember this car, but it was very, very cool. I have a soft spot in my heart for this car. And no, I am not talking about an old school two-door Charger. I'm not talking about an old Roadrunner. I'm not talking about a Hemi Cuda. None of those iconic, older, kind of muscle cars from Mopar. I'm actually talking about something entirely different. I'm talking about the Dodge Stealth, aka the Mitsubishi 3000 GT. And what a fantastic package on those cars. It came really from the compact segment, which Dodge has completely gone away from. They have completely abandoned the compact segment, as have a lot of other manufacturers out there. But this thing could make a resurgence based on what Dodge showed us about their new Hurricane lineup at SEMA. And we already know those Hurricanes pack quite the punch. So why in the world would the Dodge Stealth make a resurgence? All the way back in 1991, over 30 years ago, Chrysler decided to do a joint venture with Mitsubishi Motors, and what they gave us was the Stealth. And basically it had a sister car in the 3000 GT. They gave us lots of trim levels on that car, which we will talk about. And they actually made that car from 1991 until 1996. And then of course the Mitsubishi 3000 GT was made up until 1999. But those cars came out at the exact same time. A very sporty two-door car, and a lot of people really liked that car. It was very different coming out from a Dodge, and of course the fact that they did a joint venture with Mitsubishi was even more strange. And there have been other pretty cool joint ventures in the past, like the Eagle Talon. Of course, that was a joint venture. And there have been some other ones out there that are pretty cool as well. But this one really sticks out in my mind as something very cool.
What do you call a car that out-accelerates a Ferrari Testarossa or a Lotus Esprit? Out-corners a Porsche Carrera. Has been called the affordable Ferrari by Motor Trend and was named one of the world's top 10 performance car values. You call it the Dodge Stealth RT Turbo. Now choose from 4 Stealth models starting at $16,878. Welcome home, America. Advantage Dodge.
Now, both the Dodge Stealth and the Mitsubishi 3000 GT came in 4 different trim levels. You had the base trim, and then you jump up to the SE, then you had the RT, and you had the Bad Daddy RT Turbo. In the Mitsubishi, that version was called a VR4. And the top trim level like that, all-wheel drive as well, which is very cool. The bottom 3 trim levels were front-wheel drive, but the base version of this car had a V6 single overhead cam producing 164 horsepower. When you jump up to the and the RT, you got a dual overhead cam engine, same size, 3-liter, naturally aspirated, but it put out 222 horsepower. And then of course when you jump up to the VR4 in the Mitsu or the Turbo, the RT Turbo in the Stealth, you got 300 twin turbocharged horsepower, and you also got 307 pound-feet of torque out of that beast. As a matter of fact, in 1994, all they did was put a different calibration on it, and they upped the horsepower to like 320 horsepower and 315 pound-feet of torque. So a very formidable car. Even nowadays, when you talk about those power figures, not anything to sneeze at, but think about it 30 years ago, and it becomes even more special. Now here's the thing, for today's video, I really wanted to find one of these cars to use it as a backdrop, show you some of the features, and just how good that car still looks even today. And they are really, really hard to find. Matter of fact, the closest one for sale anywhere near me, it's like 350 miles away by a private seller. It is not an option. You almost never see these cars on the road, but when you find one in pristine condition, they still bring really good money. There's just kind of a specialness to these cars, and I love that about these. One other quick item of note, the RT Turbo was only available in a 5-speed manual transmission, which in the later years actually went to a 6-speed, but no automatics on those particular cars, whereas the 3 trim levels below, the base, the SE, and the regular RT were available in both a 4-speed automatic and a 5-speed manual. But 0 to 60 on this car was actually under 5 seconds, even in the manual. That all-wheel drive really did make a difference. So why am I bringing up the past? Well, I will tell you. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, Dodge has basically completely abandoned their compact segment, right? I mean, they just went completely away with it. Yes, they gave us the Hornet here for 2023. We're starting to see those in the showrooms, but that's more of a family car. That really doesn't appeal to that younger crowd out there that still wants something fun and relevant, but can't afford a $70,000 Scat Pack. That's what these things are running nowadays, or a $100,000 Hellcat. That's just not reality for a lot of people out there. And Dodge has already mentioned they want to put butts in seats. That's why they came out with the Hornet. Well, this is a perfect opportunity to go back into that segment, right? Appeal to the younger folks out there, the folks that don't have endless money, and still give them something cool, relevant, fun to drive that people can really get behind. Give us a tuner type car. And man, I feel like if Dodge doesn't do this, they would really be missing the ball on this. Now, the last Dodge Stealth actually rolled off the production line over 25 years ago, and that is a huge bummer. And some may say it was because they just weren't seeing the sales on the car, or it wasn't relevant anymore, and none of that is true. Actually, what was going on actually had more to do with Mitsubishi, believe it or not, and that joint venture just kind of fell apart. But Dodge, as far as I know, still wanted to continue to make the Stealth, but it just wasn't really in the cards at the time. So that brings me to my next point. Why in the world would Dodge bring the Stealth back, and why would this be a good time to do so? Well, truth is, not only are they missing out on the compact segment, but the Hemis are going away, and the Hemis take up a lot of room under the hood. We know that Dodge Chargers and Dodge Challengers, those are big cars, and these Hemis are big, heavy engines. And when you're talking about small, light sports cars, you don't always want a big Hemi with an iron block in there that weighs, 700-800 pounds. That's just not really the way to go. You want something small and light. Well, guess what? Back in November, when I was at SEMA, I worked with one of the head honchos at Direct Connection, Chad, and he showed us all sorts of offerings that they were going to have from Direct Connection, including their new Hurricane line. And as we know, the Hurricane 4 is already out there in the Hornet. 263 horsepower, almost 300 pound-feet of torque. And then, of course, they showed us the Hurricane 6, which is even more formidable, a twin-turbo inline 6, and that thing over 500 horsepower. We're already seeing those in some of the Jeep offerings that they have right now. So can you imagine how cool it would be if they brought us back a very small, very sporty, all-wheel drive VR4 or RT Turbo type offering like we had in the Stealth? Same exact thing, right? 3-liter turbo engine, making tons of power, very modern, very light engine. That thing would be super, super cool, and do it for a price that isn't $70,000 or $100,000. This car would absolutely be a smash, in my opinion, and man, I would love to see it. So I want to set the stage as to how cool this really could be if Dodge decided to redo a Stealth with the Hurricane lineup. And yes, they could give us lots of different trims, just like they did back in the 90s, because all they had to do is throw a different calibration at these engines. That's the great thing about turbo engines, and off you go. So they could most definitely put a Hurricane 4 in a base level trim in a Dodge Stealth, and then go up to a Bad Daddy trim, just like the RT Turbo of back in the day, and give you over 500 horsepower in a very small, compact car that doesn't weigh very much with all-wheel drive. Can you imagine the possibilities? And the guys at Direct Connection, when I was there at SEMA, they assured me that this thing will hold over 1,000 horsepower very comfortably. So think about that for a second. An all-wheel drive, 1,000 plus horsepower, much lighter, much more modern, all the best fuel injection, all the things that this engine will come with in a very small, light platform with all-wheel drive.
That's awesome! I know!
I just can't imagine how cool that would be if Dodge decided to do this. They just have to, in my opinion. Now, I want to be very clear on this. All of this information I'm giving you is strictly hypothetical. Dodge has not contacted me and said, hey, look, Racer X, we're building a brand new Stealth. It's going to be awesome, da-da-da-da. I'm just telling you what I think makes sense for the brand to do based on how successful that car was back in the day, based on the fact that they're missing out on the compact segment, and based on the awesome new Hurricane series of engines. This could be a really fantastic offering from Dodge. I would love to know what you guys think about this. I mean, would you like to see the Stealth reborn with these new modern components? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch you on the next one. So until then, Racer X.